Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, discussion, and reviews each and every week. On this week on the show, we're going to be breaking down the Bad Batch's penultimate episode, Flash Strike, and we'll be previewing a new interview with Graham E. Hancock, author of the upcoming book, Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity. Plus, of course, stay tuned until the end when we will answer your amazing hashtag Ask the SWU questions. My name is Chris. Joining me on the show, it's my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, Hannah. Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's the second last Bad Batch. What a time. I kind of can't believe it. It seems like yesterday the show was just being rumored, and here we are at its finale. By the way, thank you to everybody who listened and watched our interview with Paul Sun-Young Lee last week. We got lots of great feedback on that. That was a lot of fun. And for everybody who hasn't listened to it yet, what are you waiting for? It's on YouTube. It's in your podcast feeds. Get to it. Chop right after you're done listening to this. But yeah, looking forward to breaking down this episode. It's going to be a great show.
I just am so excited that Uncle Iroh is on our YouTube channel. That's all I care about. Super, super cool. Also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Good to be back. And yes, unfortunately, second to last episode of the Bad Batch, we were going to strike off this episode in a flash and get onto this and play. It's going to be a lot of fun to discuss.
I mean, Ben, there are puns.
I'm on thin ice with that one. Okay, I was on thin ice. I admit it.
There's reaches, and then there's whatever that was. I
thought we were saved when there was no puns in the show notes. I'm like, okay, we're good this week. But no, you were saving it for your introduction. I understand now. Okay,
for that.
We've been bamboozled a little. Also joining us. It is Ray from the Hannah side.
Oh, g'day there. Great to be back for another week, another episode. And yeah, let's savor these moments, these final minutes we get with the Bad Batch. I think once this show's gone, we're going to really fondly look back on all these times, like going through these weeks and looking forward to the next. So yeah, super sad, but also very, very exciting. Can't wait to get into it.
Hannah, I feel like Sarah McLachlan was about to start playing underneath here. We're going to look back on this.
Oh my god.
Oh, we should do that for the final show, actually.
We should just get a super kind of Bad Batch moment.
Yeah. The Bad Batch.
Speaking of throwbacks and looking back from his 5-year hiatus from the show. That's right, it's been that long. It is our good friend Alex from Star Wars Explained. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you for finally having me back. I haven't talked about Star Wars in 5 years. Been waiting.
You're like, I have so many things to explain. I can just
if only there was somewhere.
I'm gonna explain Andor. I'm gonna explain Book of Boba Fett. It's too many things.
Too many things. Well, Alex, before we dive too deeply into stuff tonight, what is your thought? What have your feelings been about the Bad Batch? What have you thought of this series and this season in general as a whole?
Man, it's wild. You're right. It does seem like just yesterday when it was being rumored, and so many people, including myself, were like, "Really? That's the next series? Those guys?" And now here we are at the end. It didn't take me long for them to win me over. I immediately, I think from the first episode, was like, "Okay, this is a lot different from what I was expecting." And it's crazy how fast time has flown. It's been like 4 years for these 3 seasons. I'm a little sad to see it go, obviously, but I'm also glad that, you know, they just had this story to tell. They know when they want to wrap it up, and I would rather it do that than like get dragged out longer and longer. So I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I also like that everyone keeps describing it as the penultimate episode, myself included. But like just from my Schmodown days, and Mark Ellis loved saying that word, so it takes me back.
It's a good word. It's a good word. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, you'd say it's been 4 years that the show's been on. It's been a long time. And yeah, the same reaction when it was first announced, those guys. But I think as soon as Omega showed up in the trailer, it was like, oh, okay, there's gonna be more. There's gonna be more to this. But yeah, we'll get into this latest episode in just a moment. First, Chris, plug a few things for us.
All right. So if you are watching on YouTube right now, make sure you punch that subscribe button. Chewy, you can super chat with us and we will give you an in-depth response to your super chat in the Ask the SWU section. And if you're watching later, you can still contribute to us by becoming a channel member. If you're just listening, we appreciate you listening on your favorite podcast app. Please make sure you're subscribed on the app that you're listening to us on and leave us a review if you can. And make sure you check out our Discord. The Star Wars Underworld Network Discord is your place for game nights and watch parties and lots of other fantastic stuff beyond just Star Wars. Throughout the week when we aren't broadcasting live. So check all that out. We have a link to join the Discord server in the show notes and the description and caption of this video, wherever you're watching, or audio, wherever you're listening to it on. And then finally, make sure that you follow us everywhere on social media at the SWU, especially on Threads. That's the only thing that really matters in this world anymore.
Just cross 4K. Let's go.
It's working. It's working. And of course, don't want to forget mentioning that we have a lot of other shows as well on the Star Wars Underworld Network. We've got the Raeside on the Raeside channel, our AE side. We got Iron Cannon on this channel. We got Tractor Beam on this channel, and we have Tales from Beyond the Galaxy over on their own channels as well. For search for that to find their stuff. Check it out.
All right, so let's get into things. We are, of course, going to talk about The Bad Batch, Season 3, Episode 14, Flash Strike, written by Brad Rao and directed by Nate Villanueva. Let's begin how we always do. Go around the table, give some initial impressions on the episode. And Ben, for the second last time, we're going to throw it to you first. What did you think of this one?
Why do you have to put it like that? Jeez.
Ominous.
Yeah. Yeah, very ominous and very sad. Okay. Bittersweet, because this was an excellent episode. And really, like, the only flaw in this episode, really truly, is like that wasn't enough. I need way more. I need this to continue. Like, I was like, as an example to like how glued into this episode I was, like, I have Disney Plus with commercials, but mainly because I'm a cheapskate, but also you know, I like during the commercial breaks, I was getting really like uneasy. I like usually ads don't bother me, but I was like, just get on with the episode. I need to know what happens next. Like, I was really clued into this episode, and ultimately, like, it ends, and you're like, I want this to keep going. And now I'm just like, okay, how do they wrap all this up in 22 minutes? Like, how are they going to do this? Is this going to be, you know, a secret 90-minute episode next week? Like, I have to know. But ultimately, like, you know, it matters. I have complete faith that the Lucasfilm animation can pull this off without a hitch. They always excel at premieres and finales. So I think next week is going to be another banger too. But this week was a great lead in to what I assume was going to be another great episode next week. But yeah, just wonderful episode.
All right, Ben, suffering through ads to get through this brilliant episode. Alex, over to you. Your thoughts on Flash Strike?
Very similar. The past 3 episodes have been, I've kind of been viewing them as if eventually they'll all play out the way the end of the Clone Wars does, where those last 4 episodes might as well just be a movie. And these past 3 have all been very entertaining. I've enjoyed watching all of them, but I'm also like, it doesn't feel like the whole, and I'm ready for the final episode to bring it all home. I'm with you. I really want it to be a longer episode. I could swear that when they first made the season 3 announcement, they said it was 16 episodes. So my fingers are crossed that 15 is just going to be a double episode, a part 1 and a part 2. I have not been able to find the source on that, so maybe I dreamt it, but I'm hoping that it's bookended. Like season 1, episode 1 was an hour long, and so season 3, episode 15, I hope is a good 45 minutes to an hour.
It would feel right. It would feel very right to start with basically a mini movie and end with basically a mini movie. Hannah, over to you. Your thoughts on season 3, episode 14.
Yeah, this episode was super interesting because I felt like, it set up a lot of where we're going to be finding out the final moments of this group, whether they, who's going to not be here at the end of the show, who is, and how it's all going to happen. I do find it very interesting that we started this season with the Bad Batch being like, we got to get to Omega. We got to get her out. And Omega's like, I can get my way out. Like, we started the season like that. And then now we're still in this second last episode being like, we got to get to Omega. And Omega's like, I'll get out. It's just, I love that's the same. Not to kind of really complain about that at all. But overall, I think the story beats are really interesting. The whole Emory might turn and help them. Echo being like a lone wolf for the past 2 episodes has been really interesting to me, and I'm very fascinated. I feel like there's a deeper meaning there for that. It's either going to be one of 2 extremes. He's either going to have his own show after this is ending, or he's gonna die like first thing next episode. It's one of the 2.
Not again.
But yeah, not again.
The second death of Echo.
Well,
only 7 lives left.
Yeah. But then of course the reveal of the Zillo Beast being back there as well. I think there's just so many interesting story beats, and should be a good finale.
Absolutely. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I also echo what Alex was saying, that like the finale better be an hour long because there's still much story to left to wrap up. We're not close yet. But this penultimate episode was an amazing table setter for the finale. I enjoyed every second of this episode. I thought it was written extremely well and paced extremely well. The editing was like really fast paced, but not rushed. It was just in that perfect sweet spot. So absolutely incredible. And yeah, all the pieces on the chessboard are starting to move towards the end game of the show now, which is so exciting. So I'm just kind of riveted on the edge of my seat as things are happening right now, because every second has just a huge move and a huge consequence for so many characters and so many lives at this point that we've come to know and love. So yeah, I amazing, as been said, revelation of the Zillo Beast. That's been a hanging thread for so long, and it's so cool to have that coming back and potentially a really big way in this show. It makes it such a cliffhanger for next week. So yeah, really loved this episode. There's a lot to dive into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I sort of feel the same way I did last week, which is I feel like I've reached the point where it's just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. The story has we've followed the story to this point, and the story is, as you put it, Chris, in the end game. We've reached literally now the finale. There's one more week of this. We've seen the characters go through growth. We've seen them evolve and change, and we've seen what they mean to each other and themselves. And now we're seeing the payoff of all that. This is what the entire show has been building to. These episodes determine if it was all worth it. And so far, it's absolutely pointing in that direction. And yeah, it's been strong. It's been good. And I just sort of feel like you can really tell the people that worked on this show either loved the Clone Wars or worked on the Clone Wars for a long time and loved it for that reason too, because it just feels like every Clone Wars loose end that was out there, they've taken the opportunity on this show to wrap it up in one way or another. And the fact that the finale is basically going to be, you know, the Zillow Beast awakens, like it's another Zillow Beast episode, just I think speaks to that, because that was one of those really sort of odd, chilling cliffhanger moments in season 2 of the Clone Wars, when it was, oh, you want me to clone the beast? Like, there's more of this out there. There's more of this story that could be told. And at the time, I honestly didn't think anything would come of it. I thought that was just sort of like a fun thing that George and Dave and all the writers of Clone Wars threw in as like a little wink to the audience of like, there could be more here. Like, Palpatine wouldn't just let this be as a one-off thing. He'd be interested in knowing more. But I honestly never thought we'd see more of that, even if the Clone Wars had gone for its entire original run. And so the fact that we've already gotten a Zillow Beast episode, we got one last season, and it looks like we're going to see another one, just feels exciting and right. And, this show builds on the legacy of the Clone Wars in so many fun and interesting ways. And I mean, what could be better? What could be better? Well, we'll see next week. Who knows? Let's start with Omega and her storyline in this episode. We see her, again, taking action into her own hands to try and figure out what's going on, what can be done in the within the vault there and within Tantus. Alex, I'll throw this to you. What have you thought of Omega's development over this season, and the way that all comes together in this episode?
I have really loved it. The scene back on Pabu where she gives herself up and gets taken back to Tantus and like centers herself and does the Gunji breathing. I love that scene because I just immediately took me back to season 1 when she was captured by Cad Bane and they went to that old Kaminoan facility. And when she got back from that, she just said her biggest fear was that she would wind up an experiment in a tube. And now she's come fully around from that. And she knows that's what's going to happen to her if she goes back to Tantus, but she did it to save the people of Pabu. Like, people keep debating whether or not she's force sensitive, but I'm like, I don't care. She's basically a Jedi. Like, that's what a Jedi would do. And then she is instantly put in here with all these kids. And she's like, okay, I'm making the Bad Batch babies and we're going to be a new team. We're going to escape together. I love that. So just seeing her full of confidence with all these kids and being like a beacon of hope for them has been the best. I love everything they're doing with her.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an interesting callback of season 1, saying I don't want to be an experiment in a tube, but now literally every risk she takes brings her potentially a step closer to being an experiment in a tube. She gives herself up on Pabu, like you said, goes back to Tantus. I mean, what happens if she gets caught while she's climbing around in those tunnels in the wall with the delivery system? I think she loses even more of what limited quote unquote freedoms she has.
Dominic, I thought she was going to lose a limb. That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
But that's like just speeding past her. I'm like, is she going to get her hand caught in this?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
I was worried she was going to get lost and not know how to get back. So I was watching her
stressful.
Watching her climb.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is she going to know where to go? How is this too many? She's gone too many. There's been too many steps.
Oh. She got back really quick for the amount of time that they showed her going to the Zillow Beast. She was back in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I know it was this whole trick of editing because they wanted you to think that the bad cop Emory was getting there before her. Yeah. Man.
Well, Hannah, let's go to you. What did you think of Omega in the story?
Omega is the perfect embodiment of hope, and I think the storytelling of her character up until this point has been so fantastic. I mean, we could spend hours just dissecting how they've written her, but just briefly, the journey of her, the journey of hope isn't one of like everything's easy, everything's straightforward, everything's simple. Everything is so complicated with Omega, and everything has consequences, and and like what we're saying, or all her journey up until this point has been so complex, and you can see that come to fruition. You can in terms of her persistence and her hopefulness has made her so confident and so strong. And I have full faith that she's gonna get out next week. Like that, it's probably not gonna be the batch that gets her. Like she's probably gonna get out herself of the vault with the kids. It's more about, I think, once they're out of the vault, I think that's when it's like, okay, that's where the Bad Batch comes in. But I think it just is such a great telling of a character, just how full throttle she is at this point. She isn't scared. She isn't a child anymore, but not. Not for any negative reason, but for the reason of like she trusts herself and she has hope, and I think that's such a beautiful way to have a character in the show.
Yeah, and we get to see her as like a real leader in this episode. We've seen her through a lot of the series. She's following the Bad Batch around. She's doing what they're suggesting, and in this episode, we see her kind of take the reins and not just act for herself, not just drag Crosshair along with her, but actively, inspire other people with the other kids to, stand up for themselves a little bit and, push back against the not Emory doctor. Ben, what did you think of Omega as a leader in this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately kind of it's the culmination of 3 seasons of her character development. And
Ben,
am I coming through all right, or am I really lagging?
Ben, you're on the moon.
You just gave us the best cliffhanger ever. That was the best.
It's like those interviews with, now we're going to talk to someone from the International Space Station. There's that awkward pause. It's like, what is space like?
We're
Tell
gonna
me.
wait
I want
5
to know.
seconds for him to get the joke. Yeah, hang on.
Gotta love that. I am actually on Earth right now, for the record, on Earth right now.
Okay. It's just
I'm just
Mississippi,
gonna continue
folks.
my thought.
It's just Mississippi.
I think you should.
So, but it's like, yeah, it's just me. But like, ultimately, I'm reminded of like, I mean, ultimately, it is a culmination of a character. I'm reminded of like Clone Wars episodes, like going back to another great Star Wars heroine, Ahsoka. Of like, Ahsoka went on this journey and was this kid that was, ultimately, she was, went through a lot of the same stuff that Omega went through. But ultimately, you have, the Padawan Lost episodes where, she's gone and Anakin's like losing his mind. He's like, I gotta go save her. I gotta go. It was like, no, like Plo Koon's like, no, you have to trust her. You have to trust that you trained her to survive this without you, and she's gonna find her way back to you. And I like that like Omega's experiencing basically the same thing of just like, and like, but the Batch aren't freaking out. They are coming to save her, but they trust her as much as she trusts in herself. I think that's really powerful to say, look, we have to prepare ourselves for, what's coming. No, sometimes no one's going to be there to save you. And like, I like the idea, and then calling them all the way back to, really A New Hope with, I think she's kind of probably do something to save their butts before they get out of there, because like the whole thing is like, oh, they go and save Leia. Like they wouldn't have got out of there without Leia's help. Like, and they're probably like, Omega's fixing to sick the Zillo beast on these people. It's about to get real.
Yeah, it certainly is. Chris, do you want to add anything on Omega's story, her journey, her climb in this episode?
Yeah, I think really all I can think about right now is how are they trying to position her within the Star Wars franchise as a whole. Now that we're coming to the end of this show, a real big question that I have is this a one and done character that we might see, cameo here or there in other spots, maybe? Is she going to be relegated kind of to the space that like the Star Wars Resistance characters have been relegated to, where we haven't really heard much from them since that show?
Kaz. Where's Kaz? That's the question. Where's
Where is
Gas?
Gas? I mean,
Well, we
there's
know- we
reference
know-
to his family, thankfully.
Yeah, we
but-
know what his dad's up to.
Yeah,
Oh,
we know
true.
what his
Oh,
dad's
true.
up to, which that is great. But that so basically that's what I'm wondering. That's how what I'm reading into like this episode and the next episode and this whole season and everything is like, are they, because they really are building up her character and like we said earlier, she really is Hope, and I feel like characters that are Hope, like Ahsoka, like Luke Skywalker, tend to be tentpole characters in Star Wars, and so I'm really curious if we're gonna see another show where she's a major part of that show in the future, or another major piece of media that she plays a role in as she continues to develop as a character. So that's really where my brain is at when analyzing what's going on, because again, within the show itself, it's just trajectory. It's just continued trajectory and growth.
Yeah. I mean, Alex, you've obviously got a real a sense of the pulse of Star Wars storytelling with everything that you do. Do you have a feeling of again, with the understanding that we don't know what happens next week, anything can happen in the finale, but do you have a feeling on what you think sort of Omega's future, her legacy might be beyond this show?
Honestly, haven't thought a whole lot about it because I just want to let's see what happens next week and then we'll dive into it. Yeah. I would not be surprised if they did some sort of continuation, basically everything that they said surrounding Asajj Ventress, where they knew fans were going to have questions about that, and they were like, we promise we're going to tell you how she's still alive in future stories. So something is coming surrounding her, and I won't be surprised if they just kind of keep this continuation of it from the Clone Wars to the Bad Batch to the Hidden Path or whatever is coming next. That things might not be so centered around the Bad Batch, but those characters might continue on. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, something I've been thinking about with the Bad Batch coming to an end is like, this does feel like a transition point within the Star Wars universe and within the Star Wars storytelling too, to an extent of we're closing the book on the Clone Wars era, but we're truly beginning the Rebellion era here. And it feels like a lot of these storylines that we've seen over the course of the Bad Batch all through all 3 seasons have been about sort of, wrapping up loose ends from the Clone Wars. And I don't just mean like the Zillo Beast and that sort of thing, but answering those questions of what happens to the clones after the war. There's that great moment at the end of the Umbara arc where Fives just straight up asks Rex, or sorry, I think Rex asks Five, like, what happens to us after this war is done? And we've seen that play out. We've seen the clones be cast aside, be forgotten, be blamed for stuff, be turned into just, terrifying experiments for the Empire. And we're seeing that, we're seeing that sort of phasing out of the clone trooper. And as the stormtrooper comes in, the remaining clones stop being an army and start being the sort of early versions of the Rebel Alliance. And we've seen in some scenes throughout the series the characters who are on the more political side of things, with Senator Chuchi and the dude with the fancy hat and the big mustache from Raxus, whose name I can never remember. We're seeing them begin to put into place the seeds of a rebellion. And putting Omega with a bunch of kids in this episode, and kids who have some sort of connection to the Force. Once we've wrapped up and we've saved as many clones as we can save, what's next? And Alex, I think you alluded to it with the Hidden Path. There are now the next target, the next people with the biggest targets on their back in the Empire are anybody with an M count, anybody who could have been a Jedi. And Ventress and Omega, that's an unlikely pairing, but an interesting one to perhaps these episodes in the vault put that idea in Omega's head of like, what we need to save the kids that are being hunted by the Empire. Nobody should have to go through what I've gone through, and that can lead the story into another direction. But that is, of course, wild speculation based in nothing other than pure desire on my part to see that show. But I do suspect as next week winds down, we'll have some sort of tease towards something in the future. Let's talk a little bit about Echo in this episode. Chris, we'll go right to you with this one. What did you think of this showdown, this conversation that Echo had with Emory Carr, where he seemingly, I'll leave the door open that he did it, but he seemingly convinced her to join the cause?
Yeah, this has been foreshadowed, and it's kind of like they've been laying breadcrumbs for this whole season with Emory. Like, it's been very clear that she has a level of empathy that a lot of pretty much everybody else on campus doesn't have. That's what it comes down to. Like, she can see the suffering that the kids are going through, and that the clones who are being experimented on are going through. And you can tell that she's been second guessing her role in all this for a while. So she's very much primed for this moment. I was very much expecting this to happen, and it's really cool that, you know, Echo's the one to deliver that message, you know, being someone who has been on the other side of things when he was being like experimented on and used by back in the day. So I think she's a fascinating character. I think Star Wars has such a great history of characters that have been on both sides of a situation and end up on the right side in the end. And it's very redemptive, you know, redemptive franchise and their archetypes. And she's another amazing example of that. So I'm very excited to see, you know, how she helps everyone in the future, now that it looks like she's set herself that she's gonna actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Echo, kind of the perfect messenger for that piece of information, right? He's the guy that can exist in all the different worlds of this show in a lot of ways. He is a member of the Bad Batch, first and foremost, but he was raised and trained as a reg. He's been experimented on. He knows sort of the horrors of science, being put it being left in the hands of people who would seek to do harm. This is a guy who can reach out. He can appeal to Emory on a whole bunch of different levels. An ethical one of, are we doing the right thing here, or are you creating? Are you putting someone through what I was put through? It would be sort of thing. But he can speak to her as a clone. Like, he says to her, "You're a clone. Why are you doing this?" Alex, what did you think of this conversation between Echo and Emory?
I loved it. Same thing, that just Echo is the perfect person to be confronting her about this, and the fact that he's able to take his helmet off and show her, like, this is what happens when you experiment on clones. Like, it's not something anyone should be going through. I really like her. I don't like her response, but her saying that she was just doing her job. I'm like, that's just another way to say good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah.
So I really dug that. I'm fully on board with her finally turning. I think she's had it in her heart that she wants to help, but just didn't really know how. Although Molly has had quite a few theories that she fully knows that Omega is up to no good, quote unquote, in the cell. Like, she gives this little turn. I think it was last episode when Omega steals that tool, and on her way out, Emory kind of like looks back at her and then keeps on going. So it's very possible that she has Omega in there with all those kids, fully aware that, like, she'll get back out, and if there's something I can do to help, then I'll take that opportunity. And I think Echo is presenting her with the best possible opportunity. So I'm hopeful that she is fully on board with helping now.
Mm-hmm. And she seems to have been, questioning her choices for a long time, and is sort of the classic example of somebody who feels that they're trapped in their decisions and they can't get out of where they are, and just needs someone to come along and, give them a push in the right direction. Ben, let's see how long it takes us to reach the International Space Station this time. What do you think? We got some more of Echo's dry humor this week. What'd you think of Echo bringing?
Yeah, I was just thinking how Echo is the closest thing we've ever gotten in Star Wars to a stand-up comedian. Like the dude has the jokes. Like we had one of the greatest all time. Like, is there an Echo in here? I'm like that. Just the delivery, and then you have this one here where it's thanks for the hand. And I'm just like, come on, man, seriously. I'm sure there's others I'm forgetting too, because like Echo is an original guy. He's been around since season 1 of Clone Wars. It's like the first, I think, Rookie's like episode 5 of season 1. Like he's been around so long, and to see him like this, to see him in his element, really, and being someone I'll be honest, I hadn't even clocked the idea of just like how important this is to him. Not just for the fact that he is on Rex's side. He's had this relationship with Rex for as long as we know, and obviously he want to fight by Rex's side, but also when he finds out that there's clones being experimented on, going through probably the exact same stuff that he went through, of course he's going to want to move heaven and earth to go and try and save them. Just brilliant. I think it's great. And just seeing him being a stealthy guy and doing all the things and putting on stormtrooper armor, TK trooper armor, and being probably the only person in the Bad Batch that could do that properly. Like Wrecker ain't gonna be able to do that. He ain't gonna fit in that armor. Like but that whole thing and getting the hand, which is just great. It's that the whole sequence. You're rooting. Like Echo's story was the most tense because you're like he's out there doing the really really insane stuff.
Yeah, I love a good stealth Echo storyline. Also, the Steven Stanton voiced not AP5 droid was pretty nice. It was pretty nice to see that character brought in. I was just waiting for him to bust into song because apparently that's what those droids do.
Is this AP5's father, or I'm curious.
It sounded to me almost like a mix of AP5 and Tarkin. He had a little bit of that like rolling of the R's, and I was like, I think Steven Stanton just was like, I'll take them both and I'll make a new one.
I was trying to place
That's
what
amazing.
accent that droid had, because that was whatever accent it had, I don't think we've had a droid with that same accent. No, according to the episode guide on StarWars.com, it's an RA781. That's the droid. That's the droid. He's a few models removed from old AP5. Hannah, let's I'll go to you on Echo, the stealth clone. What do you think of Echo and his sort of infiltration of his continued infiltration of Tantus this week?
It means something again. Like I said this at the intro, it's like it means something more. Like why it is so specific that they've set them up to be separated. And they even had the line at the start of like, well, Echo's elsewhere doing something else and we're not with him. I'm like, that was so obvious to like reassure the audience, hey, we are separated from this very character. It was just so specific. So I mean, I'm loving that we're getting kind of Echo having a bit of spotlight here, being like a great ninja that he is. And yeah, I just all the elements of what everyone said. I think the humor element of it is really interesting, but then also the science fact, the fact that he's the one kind of seeing all this science happen, the testing, and he's got to go in there and look at it all. And I think if they don't mention it in this or the past episode or the episode coming, like I feel like we can read into that would be confronting for him to go in such a establishment as that and to try and figure out vials and who's who and things like that. I think it would be confronting for him. And yeah, again, if we don't touch on it next episode, I definitely think we can read into that's what he would be experiencing. But he's such a loved character. I'm so glad he's just getting these few moments to kind of really show his worth as being part of the Bad Batch. I've loved it.
Yeah, he is definitely a loved character, which is why it pains me to ask this next question. The finale is next week. Is it irresponsible to speculate? Yes. Am I going to do it anyways? Of course, it's our last chance to do it. I'm going to throw this out to anyone who wants to take it. Will we see the last domino fall? Is the last member of Domino Squad going to go down in the finale?
How
Alex
dare
is shaking his head no.
He's fine. He'll be fine.
He'll be safe.
live
Okay.
forever.
Okay. Phew. All right. Good.
I don't know.
I will say, all I'll say here is that even if, for a second, like they try to commit to an Echo death, another Echo death, I wouldn't believe it for a second. Like he could like think the most gruesome death possible. Like, Darth Vader shows up and impales him or cuts his head off or something like that. Like, I still wouldn't believe it. Okay. I still wouldn't believe it because we've been through this. I've grieved Echo before and he came back. So.
All right. Which is why it would hurt so much more if he died. Sorry, go ahead, Hannah.
My only idea and thinking about could he survive the finale, because I'm under the impression that we'll be getting some sort of Rex involvement in a new show in the future. And I feel like Echo will have to be there with him naturally, because it's the past 2 seasons. It's like, okay, Echo is off with Rex. But the thing is that X isn't. Oh man, I'm mixing everyone's names up today. X.
That's their ship.
Echo. Exo. Exo. Oh god.
I like that.
Exo,
that's good. Yeah. Echo isn't with them in Rebels and isn't with Rex and Gregor and Wolf in Rebels. So if we get another show about clones and Rex is in it, does that mean that's where we see an Echo death and we find out the reason why he's not in Rebels with them at the end? Or is that doesn't really make too much sense to me if we're going to just kind of prolong, he's about to die. Maybe it would be more suitable in the storyline for it to be in this show in the finale. So that's my thing. It's like, there's got to be a reason he's not with Rex in the end, even if there's a show after this. It's like, okay, why isn't he with Rex? So I don't know. Maybe he's done for now.
We shall see. We'll find out in just under a week's time. Let's talk about the other members of the Bad Batch. We see sort of the other surviving members of the Bad Batch. We see Hunter, we see Crosshair, Wrecker, and their new best friend, Vice Admiral Rampart, stomping through the forest. Ben, let's go to you. What did you think of the dynamics at play here between the other 3 members of the Bad Batch and their kind of sort of enemy, kind of sort of frenemy, kind of sort of not really sure what the future holds for old Rampart? What'd you make of this part of the storyline?
Yeah, so thinking back, I'm like, when we're watching Star Wars or really anything, often we love to see ourselves in these characters. We like, we want to watching this episode. Like, oh yeah, I would be Hunter. I would be this guy that's all badass. He can fly and whatever else. Or I would be Echo, this guy that can disguise himself, do all these things. When ultimately, when we're actually honest with myself, I would be Rampart. Okay. I would be the person that would be absolutely useless, slipping everywhere, screaming my head off like a little girl on any turn, and just absolutely being terrified of everything. I love the dynamic of Rampart. I love that he is in this. I love that he's another member. He's the next member of the Bad Batch. Okay. He's joined the team, whether he likes it or not, whether they like it or not. I like that they, at every turn, express their disdain for one another and how they would just as soon the others die. Like they're like, oh, unfortunately he survived. Like that whole thing is just, it's hilarious. And I think this would have been fun unto itself, just having, the Bad Batch are infiltrating Tantus and they're having a bad time of it. Like that would be funny. Throwing in Rampart is great. I'm really curious, now that I think as bad as it was for him, obviously he was better off with the Batch. Now he's in the Imperial custody again. I fear for Rampart's life as much as I have not liked the guy and really do not care what happens to him. I'm kind of feel for him now, and I'm not sure what Helmut's going to do for him, but I don't think it's going to be good.
No, I almost wonder if Rampart becomes kind of the one that they have to rescue in this final episode. That there's some part of the Bad Batch that just sort of the like moral goodness of them is like, we brought him here, we can't leave him here. We got to help him get out of here, even though I think it's clear he would sell them out at the first turn. Chris, what do you think of the dynamic with Vice Admiral Rampart?
I don't know if there's redemption in mind for this character. I was kind of teetering for a bit, wondering like, okay, he's been betrayed just like Crosshair, but I don't know. They keep contrasting the two characters. They keep showing the differences, and I think the fact that they presented Rampart as very much a coward in this episode kind of makes me think that he's gonna have a similar fate to Hux. So I don't have a very positive outlook about the future of Captain Rampart.
How does Hux die? What happens to him? Does he die?
He gets shot by General Pride.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
is. He goes out like a punk.
I mean, maybe that's exactly it. Maybe Hemlock sees Rampart and goes, "Oh, you again, pew," and that's the end of it.
Yeah, I think at this point, I don't think he's there to be developed. I think he's a foil for other characters, so he's not very safe.
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, because I keep thinking like, what's the point of bringing him along? Like, I can sort of understand like the in universe internal logic of like, you know, we need someone who can impersonate an Imperial. We need someone who knows their way around an Imperial base, especially now that we don't have tech to hack into everything. I get that, but like from a bigger picture story perspective, like out of universe, I'm like, what's the point of bringing this guy along? And I feel like there's one more betrayal potentially lined up here. Or perhaps two more betrayals, one of Rampart betraying the Bad Batch, and then the other of perhaps, as Matthew Hardy in the chat is suggesting, him being fed to the Zillo Beast. Maybe Hemlock just drops him in, a la Return of the Jedi in the Sarlacc.
Zillo needs to eat somebody.
Oh yeah, Zillo's gonna eat Hemlock. That's been my guess. I think there's more that we're gonna see for Rampart because he had that one little conversation with Crosshair. Where he was saying like, you're like me, you're selfish, you only care about yourself, and Crosshair said he's changed, and Rampart says like, sure you have. And then after he's captured, we see Crosshair is the one to go, where is Rampart? And I do think that they're going to feel some sort of obligation to help him, since they didn't really intend to drag him all the way out here. They had to, and they weren't going to, drop him off somewhere when their only chance to get to Tantus was right then and there. So I think that Crosshair probably is going to prove how much he has changed by helping Rampart. Where they go from there, I don't know. Because Chris, I kind of agree that I don't know if there's redemption in his future. He doesn't seem remorseful at all, but maybe some grand act of them rescuing him when they had zero reason to will turn him around.
You never know. We'll find out. We will find out in about a week's time. We've talked a lot about the Zillo Beast. We've talked about who could be fed to it. We've talked about the fact that it's back. But Hannah, let's go to you one more time on this. Zillo's back. Thoughts?
Dave Filoni loves his Godzilla. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is going to be a great finale. And yeah, Alex, I'm with you. I think we're going to get a snack version of Hemlock next episode. I think we're going to see him go down through the jaws of the Zillo. But yeah, I think it's a really fascinating. I mean, Dom, you said this off the top. Really fascinating storyline that we just kind of were like, oh, we'll never see that happen. We'll never see the ramifications of that. But it's super cool that we're gonna see it in some form. But Yeah, I don't know what it reminds me of something else. The fact that they've got this like big pool for it, and they have like the walk planks, like the planks you can walk along with it. Super fascinating, but yeah, I can't wait to see this thing just kind of thrash this whole mountain to pieces. Really, it's gonna be good.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Omega thinks like she can do to the Zillow Beast what she did with Batcher, and just be like, you know what? Hey, you can be my friend now. We can be cool. We can be.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Well, the Clone Wars episodes show that the Zillow Beast has some. It has a good head on its shoulders. Like it knows Palpatine is the villain, and it goes for him several times. So I think if Omega and the kids let it out, it'll look at him and like give him a thumbs up and be like, thanks, and head off and go wreak havoc elsewhere. I hope that it could recognize who helped it.
I think so.
At the end of the episode, the hunter will be like, what do we do with it? And Omega will just be like, we let it go. Be free, Zillow Beast. Be free. And it will just run out stomping all over Tantus for the rest of time. Speaking of Batcher, we better get Batcher in the finale. I'm just gonna say that we need to have. They left her behind for a while.
Where'd she go?
I agree.
Abby in the chat brings up they brought Rampart along, but not Batcher. Batcher had to stay behind, so we better get a reunion with Batcher at some point along here. All right, you know what time it is. Ben, you know what time it is. You know what time it is up there in space. It's time for everybody's favorite segment. It's time for your favorite segment, my favorite segment. It's time once again for Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. Alex, if you're wondering what the hell is going on right now,
I think I got it.
Yeah, it's basically Ben tries to do your job for a brief segment here, and Ben, it wouldn't shock me actually if most of your connections this week or this year have come from Star Wars Explained videos. But what have you got for us this week?
Okay, so number one, let me just say that just how intimidating it is to do this thing this stupid bit that's gone on way too long in front of Mr. Star Wars Explained. Okay, it's really nerve-wracking. Number two, I don't cheat. Okay, I love watching Star Wars Explained. I do not watch Star Wars Explained to get connections. Okay, I don't steal from Alex. So,
Ben's like, I watch for the entertainment.
Get those allegations out of here. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Loving the delay.
I don't even look at StarWars.com for stuff. Even when their trivia has been lame lately, I've avoided StarWars.com. And
I looked at it. I looked at it today.
So
it's brutal.
Yes.
It's
so okay. So look. Okay. So there ain't much here, guys. I'm sorry. There ain't much, right? But we'll see how it goes. So just a call out to this. I know this is something that's pretty obvious, but here we go. This is Ben's Connection Corner. It has to be something obvious first. The the V-wings seemed even more TIE Fighter-esque than normal to me. I think the sound designers really were like leaning into the whole TIE Fighter sound effects and the wing sounds and all that kind of stuff. Really cool. Okay, this is a deep cut. I'm pretty proud of this one because I saw this in the episode. I was like, wait a minute. So Echo gets a hand finally in this episode. Seemingly, I don't think it's a working hand. It's more just like a for looks hand. But if you remember back, maybe from season 1, there was an Echo Hot Toys, Echo Bad Batch Hot Toys that came out or was announced at that point, and it had an attachment on it that was a hand feature, like a protocol droid hand that came with the Hot Toys figure. And I was like, oh, that's a cool spoiler. That's something that's going to be, they're going to reveal later on in the show. Like, this is something really interesting. Finally, Echo's going to get a hand, and this is going to be something in the show. And then 2 seasons go by, and we're like, or more like, almost 3 seasons now have gone by, and we're like, what happened with that? And I still don't think they were leading up to this, because I think it was literally just like something they made up for the Hot Toys, or maybe it was intended to be a part of the Bad Batch and they just never did it. I just like the fact that they finally gave us the hand. Okay, he finally gave that clone a hand, after all these years, and Hot Toys called it way back in the day.
Ben, we're giving you a hand
another
for this
thing
one.
I'll bring up
Just one.
is Thank you very much.
Hey.
One more thing. So this is actually. I ain't done. So this is actually a part of something that you brought up earlier. This little thing.
Oh, no.
Nobody's allowed to speak during this segment.
Just keep going. Don't stop.
We're gonna be stuck in a cycle.
Don't pay attention to our reactions.
I'm gonna sit here quietly.
Every time it just makes it worse.
Oh man.
Yeah, it does. Split diopter shot. It's an interesting thing that shows up in a lot of different movies and TV shows, and it's a thing where it happens where they split the focus, and the stuff in the foreground, the stuff in the background is both in focus, and they did it in this episode, and it's pretty cool. I'll stop there.
That's actually a sick connection. I'll give you that. I got to give you that one. That's really good. It's really good. Does anybody else have any connections they'd like to share with the class?
Honestly, I don't. Like Ben said, there wasn't much. I mean, there's a reason they're putting these episode guides out on StarWars.com, and I'm going in looking like maybe they'll tell us something new. Nope. It's just like, did you notice the Silo Beast? And like, yes.
Spotted that one. Got it. Ooh,
Oh,
talk about your trivia. Good stuff. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another classic, iconic, beloved edition of Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. All right. Before we do final thoughts and scores out of 10 for the episode, does anyone want to take this opportunity to speculate wildly, responsibly, or irresponsibly about the finale? Anyone want to lock in a prediction, serious or otherwise, for what could go down in The Cavalry Has Arrived next week?
I'll stick with the Zilla Beast eats Hemlock.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I'm with
Zilla
that.
Beast,
Yeah,
Zilla Beast has to eat at least one character, possibly more than one. I think that the most likely character to sacrifice themselves is Emory. I think they want to keep the rest of the Bad Batch around. I think the trauma of losing Tech was enough, but I think Emory is definitely setting herself up for a noble sacrifice moment to redeem herself from being a part of the Empire for so long.
Mm-hmm. A clone who has, I think, has a target painted on their back that we haven't seen in a while, but I feel like probably I could play a role in the next episode is Hauser. I suspect Rex is going to factor into this, and I suspect he brings Hauser with him. And I don't know. I feel like that would be one that's sort of a mid-tier character to kill off. That would.
How dare you?
I
mid-tier.
Because
not with that hair.
Yeah. Well, hey, fair. No, but I just mean like it's not a main character. It's sort of a recurring character, and you would kill him off because it would get a reaction.
I totally agree. I'm worried for Hauser. I think he rocketed into becoming like the hot clone and became a fan favorite. So I'm very worried for him.
I have a feeling, but we'll see. We don't even know if Rex, Hauser, anybody shows up in the finale. It could be 21 minutes of just the Bad Batch, Emory, Rampart, and Hemlock running around with a Zilla Beast.
Well, twice while he's on the science ship, Echo goes and sticks his scomp link into a computer and pulls up a bunch of data, and they show him do that twice. And so I'm guessing he downloaded coordinates or something that he can send out to Rex and the cavalry. That's my fingers crossed hope.
We will see. We will see. All right, let's go around the table one last time. Give some final thoughts and scores out of 10 for this episode. Ben, I don't trust the signal right now, so Hannah, we're going to go to you first.
Yes, who would have thought Australia would have pulled through with the internet? Not me. I think this was a really interesting episode. I think I've fallen to the classic Star Wars fan issue of having maybe a bit too high of expectations for this episode. I thought we were going to see maybe some other characters come into the fold at this point. Maybe see the return of even like just people like Fennec or something. They ring up Fennec to be like, come with us or something. But for what we had in the episode, I think it was really interesting. Again, great story beats. I think it is setting up for a really interesting finale to see what happens. I think I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10 from Hannah. Alex, what about you? Final thoughts, scores out of 10 for this one.
I was actually thinking of just about that exact number. I didn't know we were doing 0.5, so I was going to go to a 7, but I was like debating between 7 and 8. So I'll go 7.5 as well. It had me entertained the full way through, but it just didn't quite feel complete to me.
It's like watching the first third or the middle third of something without seeing the whole thing. All right,
which in the future won't be a problem because like we'll just binge it and be like, you know what, I'm not happy with just this episode. I'm going straight to the finale.
Exactly. All right, 2 7.5s. Chris, final thought, score out of 10.
Dang, I'm way off. So I really liked this episode. I thought that it did everything that a penultimate episode should do, which was, ramp things up for the finale. I thought that every moment of the episode was interesting. There wasn't any point where I was like scratching my head, like, why did they do this? Which happens sometimes while watching the show, unfortunately. So, but I thought this was really tight. I thought it was really well written and well paced. And I thought everything that was happening with the characters was interesting. And I felt like there was some great, conversations and moments in there, like the moment with Echo and Emory and the moment with Crosshair and Rampart. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I thought this was a perfect penultimate episode. Damn, everything that I would have wanted it to do.
Chris, I think this is the first time ever you've been like, you know what? I'm giving it a perfect score, and everybody else is like, it's decent, good.
I know. I'm kind of in shock right now.
This is the reverse.
Wow, what?
I just remember watching this episode and thinking this is a 10. Like I was thinking of it as I was watching it. I'm like, they're hitting it. They're hitting everything.
Fantastic. 10 out of 10 from Chris. All right, Ben. Let's see what's going to happen here. Is your score going to be higher than the number of seconds between me stopping talking and you starting talking? Let's go.
Fun fact, I've just been actually putting in the things. My connection's been perfect the entire time.
Sure.
I've just been messing with you guys. Just carry on. So I will look. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10 actually, because I think
only 8 seconds,
genuinely, I'm in Chris's camp. Okay, this is a great episode. Really, the only bad thing about it is that it ended and that it, ultimately it has me worried about like the finale, because I feel like as much happened in the episode, it's like not enough still happened. And it's like, I felt like the story should have gone, it should be like, it should have ended at a point where like we were closer to things. But at the same time, it gives the perfect setup for a great, Zilla breakout, Bad Batch breaking in, Omega breaking out thing that's going to be great, I'm sure, next week. So 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 from Ben. I'll sort of split the difference and go 8.25 just to be difficult. Really strong episode, really strong setup for a finale. And just sort of putting the pieces in place. Chris, you used the term earlier, table setter. I think that's absolutely what this was. And the table has been set, and I look forward to dining on the meal next week. That is the finale. Also, I give it that extra 0.25 because this was the first and only episode for this season I was able to watch when it dropped at 3 a.m. Eastern, which was a great joy. I was glad I didn't break my streak of not staying up late for at least one episode per season, because I didn't think I would be able to, but we pulled through. All right, we're gonna get to Ask the SWU in just a second. Before we do that, we're gonna feature a preview from another bonus pod that we're gonna drop again this Sunday at around 9 p.m. Eastern. So they'll be there for you as you either wind down your weekend or ramp up your week on Monday morning. This week, you're going to hear the conversation I had with author Graham E. Hancock. Graham has been on the show plenty of times in the past. He's kind of our Lego Star Wars expert here. And this week, it's especially fitting that to talk to him because he's actually written a whole book about the history of Lego and Star Wars. It's called Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity. It's up for pre-order on May 1st on, get this, lego.com. So it doesn't get much more official than that. So what you're going to hear is me and Graham talking a little bit about what the book is. And then on Sunday, we'll have the full interview where we get basically just go through the entire history of Lego Star Wars. It's a great conversation. Here is a little preview of that. I'm thrilled to have you back. You know, in the past, you've come on and we've done Lego breakdowns of the latest Lego Star Wars stuff. We've done celebration previews. I think you've reviewed some of the movies with us. But this is your first appearance on the show, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, as an official Lego Star Wars author, as an official Star Wars author. What's that like? How's that moniker sound?
Well, I mean, you said it, like, you know, I've been into Star Wars, I've been into Lego Star Wars, I've been so deep in it for such a long time that it feels amazing to kind of channel all of this energy and all of this passion for it into a book that combines my two biggest passions, Lego and Star Wars. I mean, it's a dream project. There's no other way to say it. It really is such a special thing that I've been working on.
Yeah, and we'll get into how it came about. We'll talk about what's inside the book. We'll talk about some of the history of Lego and Star Wars. We'll get into all of that. But first and foremost, like, tell us what this book is. It's a massive coffee table book, but like, what is it?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because, you know, again, like, the secrecy of working on this and having to kind of keep it all to myself, it is so nice to actually be able to tell people what's in it and what's it all about.
Mm-hmm.
This year is the 25th anniversary of Lego Star Wars, so it's a big milestone for the brand. It's the longest running Lego theme that's based on an external property. Nothing else has had this kind of staying power for Lego. And I mean, you know, anyone who's a Star Wars fan, anyone who's a Lego fan knows why, because this is just like there's just such an amazing synergy between Lego and Star Wars. So yeah, to kind of celebrate this milestone, to celebrate the fact that they've been going together for 25 years, we've done this book that's specifically for adults. There's been some amazing Lego Star Wars books over the years, but they've always been for a broad audience. This is specifically written for adult fans, for people who are collectors, for people who, you know, maybe you come to Lego Star Wars because you love Lego and you want some Star Wars sets. Maybe you come to Lego Star Wars because you love Star Wars and part of your collection is Lego. I've written this book, so whichever way you come at it, you're going to get something out of it. We look at how the partnership came about, why Lego and Star Wars came together. We look at how the models are designed, how the minifigures are designed, how the video games came about, how the animated specials are made, how the big crazy builds, experiences and things get made. We look at the fan community and the amazing models that they create. And then we have some special things in there as well that maybe we'll talk about as we go through it. But yeah, it is literally everything about the Lego Star Wars brand in a book. Anything I could get in there, I got in there. This is supposed to cover the whole range of experiences that you get within Lego Star Wars.
That's amazing. So it basically, it's like you said, fan-made stuff. It's official stuff. It's the games. It's the shows. It's everything. One thing about Lego books, I'm going to just ask you, I don't know if this is true or not, because one of the promo pictures for the book that's out, we've got it up on the screen, shows a couple of pieces in there. Is there anything to build in this?
There's no bricks in this. But do not do not tune out. Do not lose your excitement, because we had an opportunity to put some special things in with it.
Okay.
And when I was talking to the publisher about what we could put in, the initial conversation was about whether we could put in some limited edition prints or something like that. But then very quickly we started to wonder, like, could we be more ambitious than that? Could we do something even more exciting than that? And because it's celebrating 25 years of Lego Star Wars, what if we made it a time capsule of artifacts from throughout the past 25 years of Lego Star Wars?
Okay.
And the thing that kicked that idea off for me was that back in 1999, the first place anyone got to see Lego Star Wars products was at New York Toy Fair.
Mm.
And to invite buyers and select media to New York Toy Fair, Lego sent out a little cardboard diorama of the Emperor's throne room. And in there was a little brick-built model of Luke Skywalker fighting Darth Vader, but the whole box was decorated. There was like a backdrop and everything. So, But as you can imagine, this thing was used to invite toy buyers to Toy Fair.
Yeah.
Very few of them were made. It's
Sure.
ridiculously expensive if you want it now. None of us can have it. But it's like, wait a minute, we're doing this book. The next best thing to having the real thing is to have a replica of it. So we've done a cardboard replica of it that comes flat with the book, and you can fold it up yourself. You can go get your own Lego bricks. You can build your little diorama and pop it in there. And you've got like almost a piece of Lego Star Wars history on your shelf that you can admire and enjoy.
That's pretty cool.
I was thrilled we were able to get it in. It was one of those things that when the idea came up, I didn't know how likely it would be to actually happen. But the fact that it's in there with the book, is so cool.
That's fantastic. I was just trying to quickly look up if I could see how much that thing goes for, the original. I can't find it. All I just see is people looking for it. I can't find the actual thing.
$5,000 is a figure that I remember seeing. $5,000.
$5,000 for, oh man, that's incredible. Again, the book is Lego Star Wars: The Force of Creativity, available for pre-order May 1st on lego.com. Full interview with Graham will be available in your feeds Sunday night, Monday morning, whenever you want it, for early next week. By the way, does anybody have $5,000 they can lend me? For no particular reason.
No, I have 5 cents.
5
somewhere.
cents. Okay.
No, I think I might have lost it.
Okay, darn. Well, maybe we can put together a fund and go buy one of those original New York Toy Fair Lego kits. Great interview. It's a lot of fun. We go really, like I said, we really go into the history of Lego Star Wars. We go through basically the entire 25-year history of it, from the early days to some of the more recent stuff. It's a great conversation. Look forward to everybody hearing it soon. All right. Let's jump into some Ask the SWU questions here, and we'll start with a super chat from Joel Davis. I have a feeling a lot of these questions, we said we wound down the Bad Batch conversation. I have a feeling a lot of these questions and comments are going to be Bad Batch related. This one from Joel says, what plot points do you think the Bad Batch finale will wrap up, and what aspects will they save for other shows?
Boba Fett is going to be saved for other shows.
Do you think Boba Fett's going to be in here? Or
No, Boba Fett is being
I was like, what?
Oh, okay.
Boba Fett, that whole thing that I've been hoping for the entire series, the meeting between the Alpha and the Omega. I think they're saving.
You know who has a connection to Boba Fett in and around this era? Asajj Ventress.
That's right.
Just saying.
I think there's a lot more with Asajj as well. I think I don't know if we'll see her in the finale, but I think we're going to see her in future projects. They wouldn't bring her back just for like 1 or 2 episodes. Does that make sense?
I think Wolf is someone. I think we got to get the the update of what the Empire thought of his actions. That quite a few episodes ago now. I feel like we've got to get him in the finale.
I think he's got to be in Tantus, right?
He might be. It would make sense for letting the Bad Batch go back in the middle of the season.
Yeah. And I honestly, like, I look at the Rebels finale. I feel like that's, if there's anything to go off of, it's that. And that finale wrapped up just about all the storylines. It just also opened up some new ones. So more than it leaving something open that we know about right now, I think this one will open something up for us to explore in a follow-up show somewhere down the line.
I'm hopeful that they wrap up everything that is clone related. That like just the story of clone troopers in general, they get a hopeful, happy ending. Hopefully, they get out of Tantus. I think they'll probably revisit that one room in Tantus with the pods and the Sith runes and stuff. Like, I think we'll see that one more time. Because I wouldn't mind knowing for sure that, hey, the clone troopers really messed up Project Necromancer and basically saved the galaxy decades from now. I would like that cemented, but if it's not, then I'll keep it my headcanon. That's fine.
Yeah, I like that idea too. That'd be fun. I feel like Project Necromancer's got to get one or two more mentions in here somewhere,
Probably.
something to allude to, what Dr. Pershing was working on and what they're working on in the Mandoverse.
I'll make a prediction right now. I'll say we won't see Rex next week.
Oh,
I think Rex will be. I think because I'm like thinking, okay, well maybe there is a Rise of Skywalker-esque arrival of a bunch of heroes that were called to help. I don't think that's going to be Rex. I think it's going to be Fee and Batcher. I think that's the yippee moment of reinforcements arriving. And also, they don't have a ship. They have to get out of there unless they just conquer Tantus. And they're like riding the Zilla Beast off into the sunset. They conquer Tantus. They kill all the Imperials.
I don't know, Ben. I feel like Rex has got to be in there. I feel like, if there's that triumphant, the cavalry has arrived moment, I want that to involve as many clones as possible, and I want one last major hit of the Kyners clone theme just as they arrive. Yeah. I want one last, just injected into my veins.
That credit theme sequence, though, the credits music. Where is that on Spotify? I have to. That's so good.
The week after the finale.
The finale could be like the Book of Boba Fett finale. It could be end on with Hunter or Omega riding the Zilla Beast, and then everyone's like there, and it could definitely be that.
I could be good. It could be good. We'll see. We'll see where we wind up. Again, we're just speculating wildly and semi-responsibly here. All right, let's go to the Discord. This one comes from Jet Dark, who says, okay, here's a scenario for Rampart. He helps the Bad Batch, but gets recognized at Tantus. Knowing he is a dead man if the Emperor ever catches him, he decides to join the rebellion, dye his hair, and change his name to Crix Maydeen. I mean, it's kind of funny, but I don't really know Maydeen's canon backstory, so maybe. Also, doesn't the Tantus facility exist at the same time of the Mandoverse, or was it just Project Necromancer that was referenced? James of Portland, who's asking that question. Crix Maydeen. I don't know. I don't know what the backstory is here. Alex, if you know, do we have an official backstory for Maydeen at this point?
He was a defecting Imperial, but I like Crix too much for him to be Rampart. So
I like that. That's fair. And yeah, I think it's just Project Necromancer that's referenced in Mando.
I would not mind it at all, though, if Thrawn goes to Tantus. I mean, there might be a Zilla Beast running around there, so that might be ill-advised, but I think it would be cool to see Tantus in live action, especially since everything in the Mandoverse is kind of loosely tied to the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be very, very cool. All right. This next one comes from Vlad. First part of there's a question specifically for Hannah, but Hannah stepped away for a second, so we'll hold off on that part. But the second part of the
I'm here.
You're here. Okay, good.
Okay.
Vlad says which Jedi had a musical career? Wants to know if you know what Jedi had a musical career.
Is this a joke or a fact?
There was a pop star, a Jedi pop star in the High Republic.
That is true. That is true. I don't. I will tell you that's not what Vlad is going for here. It's much more of a pun.
Oh, all right.
Okay. All right. Oh, gee, I'm trying to think of all the Jedi ever. No, I'm stuck.
Stuck.
Yeah, hit me.
Bon Jovi won Kenobi.
Oh, jeez.
That's a groaner. That's a groaner.
Jeez.
That's a groaner.
That's a good one. That's a good
All
one.
right, Vlad.
I tell you what, the ones I was coming up with was a lot more lucid than that. You know, like shark trumpet or something.
I'm sorry. What? Shark? Did you just say shark trumpet?
What is happening?
Oh, like shark tea, but shark. What?
Yeah, there's no connection there. I don't know.
Okay.
What was the other?
Hannah, are you sure your fever's broken? Are you sure?
Yeah, it might be this point. I think this is it showing. Yeah.
Okay. Vlad continues on, says, okay, holy droid parts. Echo can attach a droid hand. Why didn't he just do that earlier? Well, apparently he didn't see the hot toys. Zillow Beast. Seriously? Emory working with Echo? No way. One episode left. Will we lose the batch? Also, Rampart is a coward. Do you think we may lose all of the Bad Batch except for Omega? No.
That's too dark. That's way too dark.
Yeah. I think it's more likely they all survive than that. I think that's the likely outcome, is they all make it out, but we'll see. I think who said it earlier that, you know, losing Tech was enough of a trauma for them, that I think we're I think we're okay with them not dying.
Losing Tech keeps us on our toes. We know that they might do it, but I'm hopeful that all of them make it back out.
Yeah. Same here.
Also, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna laugh hysterically when we get to the end of the episode, and they don't even reference the CX clone. They don't even go back. This does not address anymore. He's fades away.
Well, that sort of leads to Joel's other super chat, which is, will we see Tech in the finale? LOL. Yes, because they have to wrap up the CX storyline, and that clone is Tech. I'm gonna hold on to that one past the finale if I have to.
Guitari Mundi. Nailed it.
There we go.
All right.
I've been sitting here all that time just trying to think of one.
Just rolling through them. All right. This next one comes from Ingenious, who says, how would you rate Nasir Delal's voice acting screaming in this episode? That's right. That's the Rampart voice actor. Phenomenal performance.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
out of 10.
Dude deserves an enemy. Enemy
great.
just for that. Like, come on.
An enemy. He deserves an enemy. Oh, I thought I was all over the place today. That's hilarious.
He is an enemy, and he deserves an enemy. He's an enemy. He's an enemy on Twitter too. Have you seen that dude's tweets? Like he's
so
he is an
great.
antagonist to the Bad Batch fan.
So
Good stuff. Next one comes from Hex Howl, who says, hi, I know it's ending next week, but it still does feel like there's more episodes after this. Could the next episode be rushed, or do we hope that they meet our very high expectations? And is it going to be normal length or movie length? Personally, I would love for it to be movie length, with so much that they have left to tell. It's not like it has to be 20 something minutes every time, right? But at the end, it's not my choice. Still very hyped and can't wait. Hope you have a lovely day/night and happy time podcasting. Well, thank you, Axel. Happy time podcasting. That's what we should change the name of the show to. We've talked about this a little bit already, but I think we're all kind of crossing our fingers and our toes for an extended episode here. If that being said, I will say, if this Bad Batch crew have decided, like the production crew, the storytellers, the creatives, if they've decided that all they need is 20 some odd minutes to tell this story, I'm going into this trusting them that whatever choice they make is the right one. It's the correct one. So if it's a movie length episode, great. If it's 20 some odd minutes, well, they had 16 episodes to figure this out. They had 16.5-hour chunks to try and to play with. And if they have felt that this is the correct way to tell that story, then I believe in their abilities as storytellers to go into it and say, yeah, no, 22 minutes is all we need. That said, it's hard to imagine from the outside looking in, but we'll see. These people have Jen Corbett, Brad Rao, Matt Michnovitz, everybody working on the show, they've proved themselves to me time and time again. Not that they needed to, but they have over the course of this story, the show, that they know what they're doing. So
I could go back to so many Clone Wars episodes that I like watching this. It feels like so many Clone Wars episodes feel like they're an hour long because they're just so well paced and just they're done so well. So I look, as much as I guess I would love an hour long finale, or even a 44 minutes. I would bet on it would just being a regular standard episode that's just going to be chock full, nonstop action and stuff happening.
Yeah.
I'm with you that they've earned my trust. If I think if I open up the Disney Plus app and I see 22 minutes, I'll be like, oh man, but only because I want to sit in this for longer.
Exactly.
But I agree with you that they had all of the episodes that they needed to tell the story. This is how they chose to pace it. And if they only need 22 minutes to tell the final chapter, then so be it.
Exactly. Next up, we have a question from Kajira, who included with her question a GIF of Ned Flanders from The Simpsons screaming with the with the subtitle "distinctly feminine screaming." Kajira says,
I think she was replying to the other question about Nushr Dalal's famous scream. Now,
okay, that makes more sense. Okay. Kajira says, oh my Mortis gods, what if my previous question about Omega using the Force to tame the Zillo Beast comes true? It's not out of the realm of possibility. 2, what if Quinlan Voss shows up and pulls a Mando season 2?
Yes.
And takes the kids and Omega with him to become part of the path. And then not a question, just a comment here. And also I second Hex Howell's question about hoping the finale is a movie length. So many holes to be filled. There's no way the Bad Batch crew is going to wrap it up in 22 minutes. Also, again, it would be a nice bookend since we premiered with an hour-long episode. Why not finish the show with another one? Exactly. Those are 2 excellent pieces of speculation. Who knows? I mean, bringing Ventress back feels like that's really opened the door for Voss to come back in some way or another. I don't know if it's in this story, but the fact that they reference him in the path in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the fact that his love interest has returned, feels like all signs are pointing in the direction of Quinlan Voss.
I think we'll see Quinlan in the future. I don't think any Jedi are going to swoop in and save the day on Tantus, and nor should they. Like, this to me is a clone trooper story. It should be all about the clones, and I don't really want to see Quinlan like swoop in and steal the glory.
No, I agree. I think the show we've seen Jedi. We saw Jedi in the premiere. We saw Gunji in season 2 and Ventress this season. Like, the Jedi appearances are few and far between, and their impacts have been largely on the characters rather than on any sort of big plot movements. And so, yeah, it would be a different approach, different path if that's the way they went in the finale. All right, next up, we got some questions from Dr. Hugh. Alex, I think this question is directed specifically for you. Who would win in a facial hair showdown, Vice Admiral Rampart or Biggs Darklighter?
Rampart barely even takes care of that thing. He grew it because he was in prison. Biggs, that's a choice. Although I will say there was that Imperial scientist on Tantus an episode or 2 ago who was just rocking a mustache, walking around. Good for you, dude.
Oh yeah, that mustache.
But
Biggs, easy.
Yeah, Biggs, the mustache. Garrick Hagen can't go wrong. Question 2, which would you rather have playing in your head nonstop for 24 hours, the current Disney Plus logo card or the colorful helmets? I feel like that one's targeted at me. I would rather I'd take the cyanide pill. I would take the cyanide pill. I would
for the Empire.
For the Empire, yeah.
I mean, at least the helmets are musical. Love them or hate them, there is a tone to it. Like the Disney thing is just like.
But the biggest problem with the helmets is the music, because it's not Star Wars music. If it was Star Wars music, I'd have less of a problem with the
But it
helmet.
sounds very in universe. I don't know why you got such a problem with it.
It's Star Wars esque.
see.
I just think you have Star Wars. You have some of the best movie music of all time. If you want to get people excited that they're going to watch Star Wars, you should utilize that music. That music that we all have such a deep connection to. Even if it's a new arrangement, sort of like what Kevin Kiner did for Clone Wars. It's so odd to me that they don't utilize that. And
Hugh, why do you do this to us? Why do you bring this up
I'm just
and get him
gonna-
going again?
I'm just gonna say,
We'll be
I'm
here
just
for
gonna
another
say,
hour now.
I saw the Star Trek version of this the other day, and it works so much better because they use the Star Trek music.
I will
Anyways.
agree. The Trek one on Paramount Plus is really good.
You've been spending too much time with Matthew, Dom.
I have. I really have.
Oh my god.
Question three. This one is a scenario. You decide to desert the Empire and you're going to escape the base you are stationed at. This is like one of those like choose your own adventure novels. This is great. However, you also need to evade an orbiting Venator Star Destroyer and its V-wing complement. So what would be your escape vehicle? It could be any Imperial fighter, gunship, or shuttlecraft featured in the Bad Batch, but choose wisely. As we saw in the show, even the unexpected can happen, for better or for worse. Can I actually steal? I think, Ben, you said this earlier, or Alex might have been you, or Hannah might be one of you guys said this. I would just get on the Zillow Beast and fly away on that. That's the move. I think here.
I think that's the best mode of transport, really.
Yeah.
We don't know the full
built-
evolutionary cycle of a Zillow Beast. If you feed it more and more electricity, maybe it sprouts wings and
flies away into space.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Turns into a whale, actually.
Yeah. It
Once
becomes
it
a
eats
Virgil.
so
Yeah,
much. Yeah, and turns into Virgil.
There we go. We'll get to the other galaxy. It'll be great.
Yeah, but other shuttles. That's a good question. Like, I like this. Is not. Was it Imperial specific? Was that?
No, I think it could be any.
I guess just whatever's on a base.
Yeah, or just anything that we've seen in the show.
The Havoc Marauder would be a nice if it were still around.
Yeah.
If that's an option.
Yeah.
I would not take an Imperial Starfighter because they don't have shields, so that seems like a death sentence. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Fee's ship. I like the one her ship where it's like the it's like the spliced up ships put together. I kind of dig that look, and yeah, I'll take my bet on that.
Yeah. I want one of those racing things that Tech races in season 2. I want one of those, or from the Omega and the Temple of Doom episode. I want that like ancient robotic thing.
The Zepho.
Yeah,
the Zepho thing.
That I want that.
Well, they're gonna bring that back to fight the Zillow Beast.
Maybe. That would be a twist. That would be a twist. Okay. And Dr. Hugh wraps up with, on a separate note, I want to wish Ben an early happy birthday, and I hope he has an awesome time on Friday. Yes, happy birthday, Ben. Happy early birthday.
Thank
to
you
our
so
own
much, Hugh.
Ben Hart,
Thanks
the
for
Star Wars
remembering.
guy.
So nice.
All right, next up we have our last question. This one comes from Gills Turten, who says, anyways, I remember, it starts with anyways, okay. I remember you all mentioned that all of Delta Squad and Republic Commando were voiced by different actors. Boss was voiced by Tamara Morrison. Looking at 2017's Battlefront 2, all the clone troopers are voiced by D. Bradley Baker, but Jango and Boba are voiced by Tem. For Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, Baker did all of the voices for the clones, Jango and Boba, but he has voiced Jango and Boba in the past. His Boba in Force Unleashed 2 is great. What I'm saying is, where's the cutoff between D. Bradley Baker and Tem Morrison for the clones and the Fets? I personally like the Battlefront 2 format, but what do you think?
Somebody on Twitter actually recently, I saw a tweet going around basically saying that, like, if Jango were to ever show up in one of these shows, it should be Tem Morrison who voices him. Just to have that little bit of a distinction, or big distinction, between D. Bradley Baker and Tim Morrison, of just like things. Obviously, the intention is D. Baker is supposed to be the Tim Morrison voice. It's supposed to be all the same, and to me, it all kind of runs together. Like I I hear they're interchangeably, just like I hear Matt Lanter and Hayden Christensen, simultaneously in my own head. But it would be cool. I'd be curious. We've never seen really Django depicted in any of these shows yet.
Yeah. Sometimes I lose the distinction between Django and the clones, or I lose the connection, I should say. Like, they feel so distinct. Like, there's that scene in season 2 of the Clone Wars when Boba's brought into the story, and he sees one of the clones without their helmet on, and he's sort of threatening the clone, and it's supposed to be Boba seeing his father's face, looking back at him in terror. And that moment, for me, I know what it's supposed to be, but I don't think of the clones and Jango Fett as interlinked in the way I think that they're supposed to be. And I know, like, some of the Legends novels did a lot more of, like, the clones had like a real, like, interest and obsession with Jango. So I don't know. It's always been a weird sort of distinction, but I think in live action, it's always got to be Tem. In animation, I think it depends on the project, depends on who's available. I do agree, though, that if it's Jango, it should be Tem. If it's Boba, it should be Tem, unless it's a kid, in which case it should be Dan Logan. But the other clones, sort of like how they did with the young clones this season, where Dan Logan did some of the voices and the other actor did some of the other ones. Mix it up, make it kind of interesting that way. Part of the beauty of the clones is how distinct they become. They don't all have to sound literally the same. Yeah. It's an interesting thought experiment, though. Like, where is the line? What is the where do we stop? Where do you go? Where do you go full Django? Where do you go full Tem? Where do you let D take over? It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Interesting thought. All right. Good questions, everybody. Thank you for submitting those. As always, if you want to submit questions for the next Ask the SWU, you can do so by joining the Discord, link in the description, or you can tune into the live show and submit a super chat. Before we wind things down, Alex, it's been a real pleasure having you on. Tell us what you're most looking forward to coming up in Star Wars.
The Acolyte. I've been excited for that since they just announced a title. I was like, okay, that sounds compelling. I don't know anything about it, and that sense of unknown is always exciting to me. Then they were like, it's going to be in the High Republic. I'm like, even better, because I'm a big fan. I'm excited about Temptation of the Force coming out soon. I look forward to all of those books. But yeah, to have a live action Star Wars project that isn't set within the Skywalker saga for the very first time, like, I'm really, really psyched for that. And it's a murder mystery and all kinds of things. Color me intrigued.
Yeah, and Temptation of the Force is coming out like right around the same time as the Acolyte. Like, for High Republic fans, like, that's gonna be a week, because I think you get Temptation of the Force is June 11th, and the show is June 4th. So, like, there's like a real compressed area in there. But yeah, and we've kind of been with all of the Bad Batch focus, we've been neglecting the Acolyte news a little bit, but there's been some great interviews with the cast and the creators of the show, as well as some pretty fun pictures that have been released officially through Empire and Entertainment Weekly and all that stuff. So we've with Bad Batch winding down and Tales of the Empire only lasting 1 week, maybe I'm sure the Acolyte hype train will be ready to leave the station again very, very soon. All right. Well, I think with all that, we can begin to wrap things up for this week.
All right, so that'll conclude this episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We want to thank everybody so much for watching, for listening. We will be back with another episode where we will be breaking down the finale of The Bad Batch. Same time, same place next week. That time is 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Thursdays. And that place is on YouTube, as well as being simulcast on many other social media sites. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. And of course, you can follow us throughout the week at the SWU for more programming, updates, and other great Star Wars content. Alex, thank you so much for making your long-awaited reprisal on the Star Wars Underworld podcast.
Thanks for having me. We'll try to make it less than 5 years next time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
With Bad Batch or with Acolyte coming up, maybe it'll be 5 weeks. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Let everybody know where people, if they for some reason have been living under a rock and don't already follow you, where they can.
Our primary place is YouTube. We're Star Wars Explained. We're also on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, Threads, etc. Pretty much anywhere. We're Star Wars Explained with a big yellow icon, hard to miss.
Fantastic. So check it out. It's an amazing content. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
It was my pleasure, as always. Great fun breaking down this Bad Batch episode, and sad there's only one more to go. Again, I'll remind everybody, if you haven't already listened to my interview with Paul Sun-Young Lee, you can check that. It's available now on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places you find this show normally. Check it out. It's a really fun conversation. Paul is absolutely amazing. He tells some wonderful stories, some really interesting stuff. If you want to know what it's like to be on the set of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and all that stuff, you'll definitely want to hear from him. And this coming Sunday, listen for my interview with Graham E. Hancock. We have a great conversation about Lego Star Wars, one of the most, I think, impactful and interesting Star Wars licensing collaborations. I was gonna say crossover, but no, collaborations, I think, or partnership through Star Wars. I think that's one of the most fascinating ones, and we really go into that. So do look forward to that on Sunday night, Monday morning. And I'll just add on to what was said earlier. Happy birthday, Ben. Hope you have a good birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Also, happy early birthday to our Ion Cannon co-host Matthew is also celebrating his birthday. Ben and Matthew have the same birthday, if you can believe it. So happy birthday to Matthew as well. And I think we had a
birthday, Matthew.
Yeah, I think we had a birthday in the chat as well, but I can't see it right now because I'm blind. So if it's your birthday and you're listening live,
it was Abby.
Abby, well, happy birthday, Abby. As well. Let's get all the birthdays in. Get all the April birthdays in. So happy birthday, everybody. And can't wait to do this again next week.
Awesome. You can follow Dominic on social media at DominicJ25. Ben as well. Happy birthday from me, and thank you for being on the show and hosting tonight.
Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure as always. And it's next week's going to be a bummer, but also I'm really looking forward to it. And
Ben's just expecting the finale to be bad. He's like, it's gonna be a bummer.
Yeah, I was like, really, Baba? That's the word of choice.
1 out of 10 episode. It's gonna be wild. Also, I haven't done this in a while. Let's do this. Let's do this really quick. We are officially 9 days away from Tales of the Jedi, 40 days away from The Acolyte, 127 days away from Star Wars Outlaws, 358 days against Star Wars Celebration Japan, and 757 days away from the premiere of The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Jesus. It's just around the corner.
Oh my God. Amazing things to look forward to. At Ben Hart with no E's, where you can follow Ben on social media. And lastly, Hannah, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
Base Windu. I have been sitting on that for the past 15 minutes. Base Windu. That's the one. Go. That should have been in.
Oh, boy.
Oh, goodness. No, thank you so much for another great show. Another good time. Great. Love the banter. And cannot wait till next week. I'm excited. I'm not finding it a bummer, Ben. I'm excited for next week, damn it.
Happy tears.
You can follow Hannah on social media at the Raeside, Raeside. Of note, especially follow her YouTube channel. Subscribe to it, the Raeside. Awesome content. Really almost every day, like all throughout the week over there at the Raeside. So check that out. Last things we want to remind you about as you're on your way out of here, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you hadn't. We want to send a special thank you out to everybody that super chatted with us tonight and supported us, and all our channel members that make the show happen. And we want to thank everybody who is listening to the show, and want to remind everybody, make sure you hit that subscribe button on whatever podcast app you are listening to us on, and leave a review.
We gotta update. We gotta update that graphic.
Yes.
Google Play podcasts are not a thing anymore.
Every time that I put it up, I can't edit it while it's up, so I need to like edit it while it's like I'm gonna do that right now, because like literally I will forget another week because I've been doing that. So what is it called now? YouTube Music Podcast. YouTube Music. I'm just gonna use YouTube Music. I did find out though that you have to have like a premium subscription, I guess, to YouTube in order to even use it. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's how when I was trying to send somebody a podcast the other day, and I was having problems. So I think it's for that reason I had to do Spotify instead. But for those who are part of premium, like myself, you can listen on YouTube Music, but you might as well just listen on YouTube at that point. So I don't know. Check it out. And of course, check out all the other fantastic things going on the Star Wars Underworld Network. That's the right banner. The Star Wars Underworld Network. Check out the Raeside, iCat, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and more. And last but not least, make sure you follow our Discord. You join our Discord server. The link is in the description in the notes. Check it out. That is it. We'll be back next week for Alex and Dom and Ben and Hannah. My name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.